Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Heartland Facebook Live. We do this every other week. We're live on our Heartland Facebook page, talking to different providers in the St. Louis area. I'm Kim Martino Sexton, here with my partner Elizabeth Louder, and we've got two guests today, LaKisha Reddit and Carmen Southall-Wamhoff, and we are gonna dive right in and get talking about how everybody is doing. And so, Carmen, will you start us off by introducing yourself and letting our folks know who you are and what you do?
Okay. Good morning, Kim. My name is Carmen Southall-Wamhoff. I am a LPN. I am a doula. I'm also childbirth educator, ICCE, and the COC, which is a certified lactation counselor. I've been in the birth world, Kim. You know, we met probably back in 2001.
Yeah.
At Barnes at BJC as a doula. And then from there, once the program was disbanded at Barnes, then I just became a private doula. And so I've been in the birth world for a long time. Hopefully, in October, I'm going to also add hypnobabies to my repertoire of things. And because of COVID, I actually found this new thing that it just appeared in the world called being a virtual doula. So I have also had to put my toes in that side of the birthing and doula world. But so yeah, that's me. Just mom, grandma, lover of all people.
Thanks, Carmen.
You're welcome.
LaKisha, will you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you're up to in the world?
Good morning, everybody. My name is LaKisha Reddit. I am a community health worker and doula. I sit on the board of leaders for the St. Louis Community Health Worker Coalition, as well as operate as treasurer of the St. Louis Doulas of Color Collective. I own Virtuously Birthed Doula Services, where I've been in business for almost 2 years now. And like Carmen, I've tried to switch over to the virtual birth work, but I haven't had my first client yet. Yeah, I've been more so right now working on the community health worker side and striving to gather resources and things like that for moms and babies. We just started putting together an exhaustive list of resources with a call that we just had called Community Conversations and Networking this past Monday. And we're striving to do that every month. So we are looking for professionals to help us with that and help us to gather resources in various spaces for the things that are happening with COVID-19 and stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of work centered around making sure resources are gathered in one space under different topic areas. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now with regard to, I'm more so on the resource working side right now.
And you've got somebody with you today. You want to introduce who's with you?
Nursing and working at the same time.
doing that mom thing, right? Multitasking. Well, and I have a question about the community conversations that you had on Monday night. Is that something that, and tell me the full title, the name of it again. So it's community conversations
and networking. Yeah, it's not necessarily a fluid, structured platform. Every time we do it is going to be a little bit different because the needs are a little bit different. But it's where we strive. The Community Health Worker Coalition, St. Louis Community Health Worker Coalition, is striving to bring together community-facing professionals in order to do think tanks and solution building around certain problems that we see arising within the St. Louis region. And so that's the whole premise of that community conversations and networking. It's just literally bringing together those professionals and striving to gather resources and figure out how community health workers can help out in a lot of those areas as well.
And is this something that is for everyone to watch? Is it only for providers? Like what platforms? I didn't get to be a part of it because I have a previous commitment on Mondays, so I didn't get to see it. So who is it facing? Mom facing or community facing?
It's community facing. We've had like various organizations join us. A lot of times the community health workers will reach out to the professionals that we know in the field that would be we feel like the space would be beneficial for, or even people that just want to know about it in general. We can add you to a list of like our listserv to get you involved if you are willing to be involved. Even if you're a community member and you just want to know what's out there, or you have concerns that you want to address, you know, or have us figure out solutions for, I believe that would be the space to be able to do it.
I'm just thinking for people watching who might be interested in, I think the term community health worker is new for a lot of people. And so maybe to speak to just a moment about what is a community health worker and what do they do? And then for us, Elizabeth and I like to list things in the comments. And so if there's, you know, an event page or something people can go to see where these conversations are happening or to learn more, just to let us know that. And then, you know,
I'll be adding
that. So first of all, what is a community health worker? What do you do?
A community health worker is a frontline professional. We're non-medical people, usually lay medical people. Some of us are nurses, some of us are social workers just coming into the space, but we're really wanting to be pillars within our communities and beacons of light for those of us that need resources and things like that. And so basically what we strive to do is connect our community members to resources to help them better thrive within the communities in which they live. So we're really excuse me.
No worries. We get it.
Resource providers. We do a bunch of other things too. Like, for example, I'll give you, I guess a little bit of my past work history and what I did in that space. So I used to work at a federally qualified health center as a community health worker. And at that time, I was involved with connecting people to resources with regard to pediatric mental health and stuff like that. And so I was working with our behavioral health consultants. And so we would help people who, say, for example, a parent just got a diagnosis for their child for ADHD or autism or something like that. I would then help them set up care for that child. Say the child with autism was nonverbal or incontinent or something like that. I would probably try to get them connected to the Department of Mental Health or DD Resources or something like that, and then help them set up IEP and 504 plan meetings and help them navigate that system. So we just kind of take your hand and help you navigate through various systems depending on where you need the help and what our expertise is. And so we do things on a broad spectrum. You have some of us that are in perinatal health. You have some of us that are in mental health. You have some in grassroots organizations that don't even deal with medical side of anything. It's just helping with community connectivity. So we do a broad area of things. Right now, I'm proud to announce that the Community Health Worker Coalition, in conjunction mainly with the IHN, with the St. Louis Integrated Health Network, has now a group of community health workers that work with 211. So what they will do is when you call into 211 and you need a resource, depending on the severity of the need, 211 will flag that call and send it to their community health worker homebound team, and the community health workers will kind of work with the community through that way. So it's better connectivity to resources for the clients that come through the 211 area. So we're expanding, we're going in a whole bunch of different places. We're working on we've launched our credentialing through the Missouri Credentialing Board back in December of 2019. So it's a lot of things happening in the community health work.
Well, and you mentioned another resource that not everybody may be aware of, which is 211. So that's the United Way, right? Funded by the United Way, 211. You can call it, and I believe it's 24 hours a day. And it's not a crisis line, but it is a helpline you can call and find and get information and get connected to, whether you need rent support, whether you need mental health support, whether you need food support. It's like a clearinghouse, my understanding of 211, for getting connected to all kinds of resources. And so now, which is awesome, I didn't realize that it even happened, LaKisha. Now you call 211 and then you're going to get connected with a community health worker to help you continue to navigate. So not just get the number for the food assistance program, but you can get connected to someone who's going to help you walk through that. That's awesome.
That literally just happened within the past 30 days. So
that's amazing.
We've launched that part with the integrated health, St. Louis Integrated Health Network. So we're doing a lot across various sectors, and it's been really cool to watch, because we've only been in existence, the coalition itself, the St. Louis Community Health Worker Coalition, just kicked off in June of last year. The community health worker training has been going on since 2016. So since 2016 to now, for us to have all these things just happening and popping up is that's so amazing.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Well, congratulations, and how wonderful for our community to have these resources available. And so thank you for explaining that, because I think that's really important for people to understand that there's so many ways to get connected to support, and there's so much support out there. And it's amazing support. It's actual like wraparound care. I love that. It's not just calling 211 and getting, here's the number to call, but here's some folks who can help you navigate that process. Because I understand, having worked with a lot of moms, for me specifically, working with moms, that sometimes calling that one number leads you down a rabbit hole, and it'd be nice to have someone walking you through it. And so,
ironically enough, a lot of the clients that I've heard recently, I just heard like within the past 2 days, that a lot of the clients that they have been calling into 211 are pregnant moms or mothers. So, for us to have the opportunity to be able to step into that space and help those who need it the most, it's like, it's like,
it's an important, relatively new career path for helpers, which is really exciting. And it sounds like it's, gaining the credentialing and the like further legitimizing that profession is a really big deal. And that's like one more avenue that folks can take if they want to be involved in this as a profession. I'm really, that's exciting. I didn't realize how that title or that profession was evolving. So that's helpful for you to explain that.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to explain it. Whoa, what's happening?
So one of the things we wanted to talk to both of you about, and that we tend to talk to most experts about on these Facebook Lives, what are you hearing from moms, and like what are the moms you're working with? What do they need? What are they talking about? What are they? We want to kind of peek a window into the day-to-day concerns, especially since quarantine, that our moms are experiencing. So anything that either of you can speak to regarding that is going to be just really helpful for our audience.
I'll speak on that. So with the COVID situation, of course, lots of moms, the big concern was the visitors in the hospital. So not being able to just have support when it came to doulas. So some hospitals had only a support person, and moms were very stressed about just being able to have that support person, and not being able to have an extra pair of hands or there. And so it became kind of moms were rushing to, lots of moms were rushing to just, I'm going to just have my baby at home. And that stress of that, lots of moms were just very concerned about, the every day something was coming out of taking babies away from moms who might have tested positive for COVID, the breastfeeding, all those issues were big issues that were coming up, and moms were reaching out. And so since COVID, it has been very hard for me as a certified lactation counselor for those moms who now they go home with the baby and there was no support for those issues of breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. And so it's been, I have helped some moms with some breastfeeding issues, but it's very hard, to be able to see what's going on with a mom just telling you, because breastfeeding issues, moms were saying, it's easy to say, is this as a latch issue, but it might not be a latch issue. So that's been kind of a struggle. And for new moms who then they had this whole idea that, okay, I'm going to go have my baby, but then I'm going to come home, but now I can't have someone come to the home because of maybe, their fear of getting COVID and being around a new baby. That's a new stress already. And then if they were living somewhere else. So it's been a struggle, for lots of people during that, because like me, I have to be very careful if I go to a birth at a hospital. I don't want to go and see a new mama who's had a baby, in her home. I try to be very careful of where I go. So if I go to the grocery store, then I kind of quarantine myself for, at least a day, almost 24, at least 48 hours before I go and do something else. So it has been a struggle, as well as within the birth community with, workers who, if you have been in a hospital, even some doulas have stopped going to the hospital when COVID was, very in the forefront of this. So it's been very difficult. And moms have, some moms have reached out, other moms have not. I've tried to reach out to moms that I know. If someone says, oh, my friend had a baby, I try to make myself available, if they need help with breastfeeding, have them call me. So yeah, it's been a different kind of year. I don't even know how else to put that. Few months. It's been different. Mm-hmm. It's been very different too, as far as virtual, being a virtual doula. That's a little different and has its way of, a different navigation way as well.
So yeah. Let's. I so appreciate, you spotlighting all the challenges that new families are facing. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, I know I'm curious because I've never supported a family as a doula virtually. And now that you have, and so, share a little bit about that with us. What's it like? How, what technology did you use, and how did it go?
Well, we use Zoom, and so this mom, BJC, I was at first just talking with her over the phone, her and her partner over the phone, and then I was just kind of like, I need to be able to see. And I was like, is there a way? And I had heard through just conversations with other birth workers that some of the hospitals were providing iPads. And so I was like, is there a way? Do they have an iPad? And luckily the nurse was like, yes, let me see if I can find one. And she found one for this family, but still it was very different. I found myself like reaching my hands toward toward my computer, like touching myself in ways like to explain to the dad to pull mom's shoulders down and make her relax. It was just very different. It was very like nerve-wracking. And then for birth workers who have spouses who they don't get to see that side of what you do for work, they see the opposite end when you come home. So for my spouse, he was very like, calm down. And I was in my head thinking ahead for everything that, okay, is this active labor? Like she's in active labor, because when she went in, they told her she was in early labor, and, but they were going to keep her. And so thinking, okay, she isn't really sounding like she's in early labor. She sounds like she's in active labor, but not to the point of, you know what I'm saying, Kim? It's hard for me to like put it. She's actively laboring, but she's not the contractions aren't so intense right now. And so when the contractions became so intense, just trying to even get her to say, look at me, it was very difficult, but we managed. She had her baby. She's doing good. I talked to her yesterday, but it's very like, you find yourself, you want to touch him. I was pacing, in the kitchen. I don't know. It was good, but it was very different. I guess just because it was the first time that it's like been done, it's not something that we have honed in on the skills of doing. And then I think at some point it was certain things like moms it's very different when you're in the birth room with someone having the baby. They're not as conscious. Like she at one point got up and she just didn't want the gown on, and she took it off and she like looked like, oh, and I said, it's okay, honey, it's just birth. It's just me and you right here. So I think that is another aspect that moms, they feel like then someone is watching them versus when you are right there and present with them. Right. So, but we'll see. It seems to, there's virtual lactation support now. Just a whole new avenue of going to be, looks like the future of birth work.
We've got a comment from somebody who's watching. Emily Baymon says, yes, it's tough doing a hands-on job virtually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that sums it up.
Yeah. Even being a community. And so it's like, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, even a community health worker is being like hands-on. We drop stuff off to people. We might go over and do like a visit just to check in to see how people are doing. And it's kind of like we got to stand at the bottom of the steps and like, hey, it's just like, I can't hug my clients like I want to because I like hugging, comforting people. Being a doula, we comfort people. It's very different. I'm zoomed out.
Right. Well, and that's when my next thought was I know the energy that it takes to be a doula in the room, and how afterwards, there's some of us call it a birth hangover, like you're really zapped of energy, but, and then I'm thinking about all these Zoom meetings that I've been doing and how exhausting it is. And so I'm wondering how you felt afterwards. And like you mentioned, LaKisha, it's this, how we have to be distanced, and for this hands-on work, it takes an energetic toll. And so, Carmen, did you notice that after the birth, like how you felt physically, emotionally?
I did. I was still very exhausted because we started at 2:00 in the morning, and then she didn't have the baby until 4:00 in the afternoon. So it was all day. Like, so once I woke up at 2 a.m., my husband, I was like glued with my computer up running just in case she called at any time. And it was just kind of like my husband was like, "Don't worry about breakfast. I'll find something to eat." So it was very still like things that you would normally do. Like, okay, I made coffee. I had made sure I had water, coffee, and it was the same thing. Like, there's no going anywhere. There was no like I can't leave my phone. I was even like upset to like go to the bathroom because I had to be like, what if I left my phone in the living room next to the computer and she calls and I'm in the bathroom? And so it was very still very taxing, but I made it through. And then once she delivered and I knew she was fine, I was like, okay. And then same thing, I went and got something to eat, loaded up on a whole bunch of carbs, and took a nap. And so it was great. And then the next day, I was like, oh, okay, I did that. It was okay. So yeah, it's still very taxing, even though it's virtual. It seems like can't do anything. So it was it's just a different feel. But I mean, I'm glad that I had the experience and his family trusted me enough to help them through that process. It might have helped a little more that I've known her since she was a very small child, probably 3 years old. So I'm very close to her and her family. So I don't know how difficult it might be, like taking on a client that maybe you don't have such a close connection with. But I think it would be the same because, as a doula, you just have different skills. You just get to learn different things. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, good things, but it's just a skill. So now I get to like help the next doula who, like LaKisha, when she gets her first virtual client, I'm sure I'll be talking her through it, and so it'll be okay. So yeah, help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because we discussed being virtual doulas a long time ago, and then I was like, she beat me to it.
That's okay, LaKisha. We get together, we help it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
She gonna teach
Doula
me.
fatigue is real.
Yeah, it really is. And then, then we've layered in this whole other piece, so we've had COVID and we're all trying to figure that out. And then we have what happened with George Floyd, and we have Black Lives Matter, and we've had this whole, what I'm going to say is a wonderful, amazing movement happening, as hard as it is. And as uncomfortable it is, as a white person, I'm experiencing all different levels of discomfort, and I know that's right where I need to be, and I'm good with that. And I'm wondering, so how are families doing? How are you doing? As our whole world. I just keep thinking about, Carmen, you said at the beginning, it's been a year. And it feels like every day almost feels like a year with the amount of change that we're all going through all the time. And so I just want to check in and see, like, what, for me, I keep asking, what can we be doing? Like, how do we continue to support people, and what does that look like?
I think people need to listen more. Like, Mr. Floyd's death has also opened up, as we were talking a few minutes before you went live, about just like now the whole question around moms who are not listened to. Lots of us in the birth world have heard those stories, know those stories. Me, myself, I have lived that story, as well as LaKisha. And so it's just now there's a group that I'm in that's nurses, and people are saying, oh, well, I didn't know. Everybody at my hospital treats everybody the same. Well, no, that's not. And luckily, one of the nurses got on and said, no, maybe at your hospital, but where I've worked several different places, it is not. Moms have gotten on there and said how, one mom in particular, I don't remember her name, don't even know her, but she said she was sent home after a C-section with no pain medication. Like, we know that certain things, moms are not listened to, and sometimes it becomes detrimental to moms and to babies. So it's just, at least now more people are understanding the conversation, and hopefully people who were not listening before or turning a blind eye now should be outraged to be able to make some change.
Yeah. From my standpoint, I think the biggest thing for us has been trying to check in with one another as community health workers or even as doulas, just trying to make sure we're okay to be able to service the people that we're servicing. Because most of us in this space, especially, you know, with us being a part of the Doulas of Color Collective, me and Carmen, and then with me being a part of the Community Health Worker Coalition, most of us are people, Black people or people of color, you know what I mean? And so we've just kind of been checking in with one another to make sure that we're okay so that we can better service the people that we are providing services to. But we are grateful that the conversation is being had now. You know, I mentioned before the call how George Floyd's daughter was saying, you know, daddy changed the world, you know, and we've been having the conversation for years. We've been having the conversation. So the fact that this happened and the world is seeing how unjustly many Black people are being treated. It's not even a matter of conversation anymore about, oh, what did they do to not comply? Or what did they do? You can't say that anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You can't blame this on the victim anymore. Mm-hmm. So now the conversations that needed to be had at the highest of levels is starting to be had. And I mentioned that George Bush came out and was like, okay, maybe we need to listen. You know, like the fact that a former president even came out and said, look, we need to listen. And he's being a white man to come out and say that, you know, that I feel like is impactful. And so, yeah, I'm like Carmen, I feel that there is a change coming. Do we know how long it's going to be? Because we've been looking for change for how many years?
Over 400.
Right. Or hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, 400-ish.
Right. So, you know, for us to have it, the fact that the conversations are being had in general, I think it's necessary, it's needed, and whatever growing pains, because this is going to be a lot of growing pains for a lot of people, they need to be felt. They need to be, you know, sit with how you feel. Sit with how you feel. And it's okay to feel how you feel. This is what we tell our moms that are experiencing certain mental health issues as well, right? It's okay to feel how you feel. Allow yourself to feel how you feel. Process how you feel. And then how can I learn to do better about, you know, how I'm feeling right now? How can I cope with that? Mm-hmm. Sorry for the feet. But yeah, these are definitely the conversations that, you know, need to be had. And so I'm excited about what's on the horizon. Let's see what happens. I just hope it's not the flame that's lit and then the raging fire that happens and then the fire gets put out briefly and then everybody goes back to life as normal. I don't want that to be the case. Like, this needs to continue to be put out. All the fires need to be continued to put out, and whatever change comes after that needs to take place. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I have my arm back. What both of you are saying, and LaKisha, when you say, like, you know, recognize your feelings, sit in them, you know, process them, and it makes me think of, you know, the work I do with clients, and I'm always asking, what do you need? What do you need right now? What do you need? And especially when things are feeling really, really big and overwhelming, you know, what an honest answer to that question might be, well, I need some radical change in this country. And that might just, that can feel so big and overwhelming, you know, that sometimes it can be helpful to kind of shift, like, yes, you need that and you want that and you deserve that. And what can we do for you? What can you do for you right now? You know, are you talking to moms about like, what are moms telling you, and what do you as Black women, like, what do you need in the here and now to help you process and feel supported?
What was your question, Elizabeth? What do we need?
What do your moms need, and what do you need in the moment? Like something that you can feel supported, and you can have your needs met in the here and now. In addition to like the long-term goals of like, we need some radical change, we need some racial equality, and those are important things. And what can allies do? What do you need in the here and now?
I think, like, for a lot of women of color or indigenous women, they need, if you're going to be an ally, you need to be an ally where when you see something unjust, say something. Don't just like, that's not my problem, or that's not my issue. Because in the long run, it's going to come down where it's going to be an all woman issue. It might not affect you right now, but it's going to affect you in the long term. So, and we know that, like, just with other issues, there's still the issue of women making less money than men doing the same job. So, for you to sit by and only say, well, that's not my, it's not my problem, it becomes everyone's problem. Same thing with neighborhoods. People say, well, that happens in that neighborhood, but not in my neighborhood. And very well, with COVID, it was a very specific thing that happened. Everybody was in a food desert, right? People who lived in certain neighborhoods, oh my God, there's no food on the shelf. Well, now you see how people who live in areas where there is a food desert, what the struggles they have every day, when you were just used to going to your supermarket and picking up whatever you needed and it was not there. Then what did you feel? Now, your family is without, who would ever have thought, and as old as I am, who would ever have thought that there wouldn't have been any toilet paper in the store? So that was an issue, that like toilet paper, that was not food. But then when it came down to there was no food, I'm sorry, in my years, I have never been in a grocery store and in any neighborhood where there was no meat in the meat counter, no canned goods. Like, so for people who had not experienced that, or they felt that they had the need or the means that wasn't their issue, it became an issue for you, and now you get to see. So those type of things, don't just put off that. If you see someone pulled over, I know I've been very conscious of that. Seeing a family that was like, the police, I just have to side eye look at them, and I'm like, oh, I'll just sit here at the stop sign a little bit longer just to make sure. We shouldn't have to live like that, but it's to that point where like you have to. It's a human right issue for everybody.
So I hear you saying, like, if consider yourself an ally, start speaking up when you see those microaggressions, or when you see those nasty comments on social media, or you hear, a comment under somebody's breath, like, or whatever it is, like, start or continue to say something and do something about it, and don't just let it slide anymore, because every single one of those behaviors negatively affects us, and that should count for something.
Right. And, like when people are in certain social circles and, you say, well, I have that one friend. Well, if you're really a true friend to that person, then don't allow friends in your other social circles to make assumptions about people. When you hear that, when you hear assumptions about people, then you should stop it right then and there and say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do the passive aggressive with you. I'm not going to allow you to make assumptions of people and say, I know I work in every circle, and I've had people say, oh, but you're just this way. No, this is how I am.
I lost Carmen for a minute.
We lost Carmen.
Oh no.
It's the bane of our existence these days is being technology issues. You know, when Carmen was speaking, one of the things I was thinking about is, you know, there was that whole campaign, I guess in the 80s and 90s, don't let your friends drive drunk. And I'm thinking we need a whole campaign. Don't let your friends exist as racists, you know, like without calling them out, like somehow like some sort of campaign that's like, hey, did you know that that's being a racist? And, you know, I feel like, you know, for me speaking up on this, because this difference now between, it's not good enough to just not be a racist, but you actually need to be active in the work. And so, and that's a transition for me. And I have a lot of work to do, you know, and but I hear, so Carmen, as you faded out for a moment with us.
You guys were frozen for a minute. I was like, I hope they can still hear me.
And so we kind of lost the end of what you were saying. And I just was saying, just kind of jumped into, it was reminding me what you were saying of that old, don't let your friends drive drunk. And now don't let your friends, you know, be active racists without calling them out on it.
Or overt racist.
Or overt or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say another thing that people can do to be an ally is to use your privilege in the spaces that we need you the most. You know, there are some spaces that honestly we're just not allowed in as people of color. And so to, make that change, we need you guys to use that space in order to help us make that change. And be okay with the backlash that may come with that. Because there's going to be some backlash that comes with speaking up for us, or speaking up for the cause or the plight. You know, there's going to be some backlash with that. But stand firm in what's right. You know what I mean? So if you get the backlash, don't backtrack. Don't go back to doing what's comfortable. Change is uncomfortable. It doesn't matter where it is. Even in situations when it's time for us to move on, more than likely we get uncomfortable, right? You know, so it's the same thing within those spaces. There's going to be some feelings of being uncomfortable in those spaces, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. But if you really believe in the change, you have to stand firm in that attitude. And so I just wanted to add on and say that too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm taking all this to heart. It reminds me of the conversation that you know has been popularized in school settings about like bullying, and how, you know, there's a small percentage of bullies, there's a small percentage of kids that they're bullying, but then there's a whole bunch of people that are bystanders, and that's where the power lies. And so, you know, if the majority of bystanders stop being bystanders and start speaking up and saying it's not okay to treat somebody like that, that's not okay. It kind of reminds me of that conversation, just to kind of, you know, compare it to something that folks might be more familiar with if they haven't stepped into their role as an ally for racial equality. I don't know, just wanted to comment on that.
And I do appreciate the, you know, the whole idea of being uncomfortable and leaning into the discomfort, and that's really okay. And for moms, I don't think that's new. For a lot of moms, we're used to being uncomfortable, so uncomfortable that we think it's okay that our bladder leaks and sex is painful, and people told us suck it up and that's okay. And actually there's a fix for that, and we deserve support around it. So like, not only being comfortable, being uncomfortable, but also moving to that next step of action. And knowing, and so I appreciate hearing like, okay, so, knowing what some of the actions are. And I've appreciated everything that's out there at the moment in terms of here's another step to take from wherever you are. Because I think that's important too, is we're all in different spaces, and how you were today, you may be in a different space tomorrow. And as and looking at it from a white perspective, which is all I can do, because that's all I am. But I appreciate the opportunity to be in conversation, and I'm open to learning, and I know that that's part of what we do. I feel like for those of us who have been in this mental health struggle, who have been lifting up moms for so long and families, and we're ready to listen. We are listening, and continue to do that. So I appreciate that too, like to remember that that's the most important space to be in, is listening, because people need to be heard. And especially when we're talking about our moms, and what they're up to and what they're up against during this, during all and everything that's going on, and the isolation. I worry about, like, you've mentioned, Carmen, too, you used to be able to go home with your baby and you had support come in, even for a couple of hours. And so many families are opting out of that, rightly so. I totally get it. But it's created even more isolation and even, more overwhelm, all those things. And so knowing that there's virtual support, because virtual support is a thing. We've got postpartum doulas who are doing virtual support as well. And our therapists are doing virtual support. We have virtual moms groups. We have virtual lactation groups. We're offering all the support we can, virtually, because I don't know. What I hear is it's going to be a while before we're gathering in circles again.
Yeah. It's going to be a minute.
So unfortunate. I miss my friends.
Yeah.
Some of us have I don't know what you would call it, drive-by parking lot parties. Like, I've seen LaKisha a couple of times, and it's like, hey, LaKisha, you stand in the driveway, and I'm standing over here and talk. So yeah, it's different. People have made their own way of connecting with people.
Yeah, I've seen Zoom wine parties. I've seen Zoom friend dinners. Like, I've seen like all kind of stuff with Zoom. And to mention, Carmen, myself, and another, a student doula, Carmen started this thing called Carmen's Chat that happens every Thursday at 10 a.m. actually.
Awesome.
Yes. Somebody texted me and was like, are we doing it? I'm like, I'm sorry, I got another commitment. We'll be back next week.
But obviously, I mentioned it, Carmen, but yeah, it's a chat for moms to get on and kind of just talk about our day, talk about plans for the weekend, just kind of get together and just talk. It's like no structure or nothing, just everybody come on and just speak. Yeah.
Some people cook breakfast, some people eat breakfast. We babysat a baby one day, like for 10 minutes. It was okay.
Yeah. It's funny because I get made fun of because I'm always on a Zoom call eating. Like, if it's recorded or something, like people catch me at meal times. Been on Carmen's Chat picking up breakfast before, so it's like,
it's okay.
Whatever you're doing, just join in. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. That's important.
Yeah, because we need the connection, however we can get it at this point. And so, we're almost at 11:22. We want to be mindful of everybody's time. And I didn't know, Elizabeth, if you had looked like you were going to ask a question before I started to say that. Sorry. It's so hard to watch all the screens and try to, I feel like in person, we're so much better at that. And then like on Zoom, it's like, okay, gotta look everywhere, try to see what everybody's doing.
Make sure you're looking at the camera.
Right. Remember to look, at the camera once in a while, which I totally forget to do. Like, I don't know. I'm looking at other places. And so as we start to wrap up, and just to let people know, just a reminder like of the support that's out there. Because I know Carmen, so you're teaching a childbirth ed class? Yes?
I am doing it virtually.
Doing a virtual childbirth ed class?
Yes, until they open back up at the hospital. I'm also working with Flourish, helping moms. We put some care packs together for some moms. And so that was good. It's just been a lot, but I'm teaching virtually. And so, it's.
So if people want to get more information and find out how to take one of your classes or hire you as a virtual doula, how would they contact you?
Oh, they can contact me at all small letters, Diva, DIVA, _doula, DOULA @yahoo.com. Or you can reach out to my cell at 314-479-3636. And I teach childbirth classes at Mercy Birthing Center. So if you want to reach out to the education office at Mercy Hospital to take one of my classes. I also do private childbirth classes. So they can reach me in that way.
Awesome, thank you. And LaKisha, how about you? How do potential clients get a hold of you?
Okay, you can reach out to me through my website at Virtuously Birth. And birth is spelled BEARTHED.com. There's an inquiry form under the Contact Me tab. You can reach me there. You can also reach me through my email at V as in Victor, B as in boy, doulaservices@gmail.com, or call me on my cell as well at 314-679-0902.
And we have, if me and LaKisha are busy with birth, there are other doulas that we can refer people to. So it's not just, and who are just as kind and loving. And so there's, if they reach out to one of us and we're busy, we do have contacts for other doulas that can help them, and who are also other women of color.
Yeah. You mentioned the St. Louis Doulas of Color Collective.
Yeah. The St. Louis Doulas of Color Collective. You can reach us at, I believe it's St. Louis Doulas of Color.com or .org. You're right, .org. And our chairperson is Candace Ward, who is also an IBCLC, and she does postpartum doula work. But the email address for the St. Louis Doulas of Color Collective is contact@stlouisdoulasofcolor.org. And so there's now a group of 14 women of color doulas. We have actually, one of us, one of the doulas is a licensed clinical social worker. We have a couple doulas who do placenta encapsulation. It's a whole bunch of us that do a lot of different things. I do bereavement services. So like all of us are kind of like really broad.
Everybody's got different niches. So you really can support all women who are looking for all different types of support.
And dads as well. So, we always like to say that we don't leave our dads out. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we are so grateful that both of you joined us today. We hope we can talk to you again sometime soon in the future.
Sure.
That you'd be willing to do. I mean, this is a conversation that we need to continually be having, not only on behalf of moms and birth workers, but to continually be having these conversations about the really important stuff, and making sure that moms of color are getting what they need and what we can do to help. So that's something that we really want to work hard towards. So we really, really appreciate you coming and telling us about your work and being really honest and transparent about what's going on with your clients and with you.
Thank you for having us. This is amazing.
Thank you. Everyone have a
you.
really great week.
You too.
Thank
Have a
you,
great
too.
weekend.
Thank you so much.
Stay healthy and safe, everyone.
All right. Thank you,
care.
Kim. I'll reach
Thank
out
you.
and become more active with the mom's line because I know that is also.
And you are, Carmen. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. We forget to mention that because both of you are Mom's Line volunteers. So yeah, so another awesome resource to have you both a part of. And yes, I have plenty of work.
Definitely, if you can. Let me know.
All right, I will.
All right. Thank you both.
Everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.
You too.